The sea does not hurry Alexandria awake. It leans against the harbor stones with a steady weight, carrying the taste of salt in the air. The first light of morning does not leap, but spreads slowly, brushing the marble columns and narrow lanes. In pale color, fishermen rise before the city, untying nets that still remember the damp of night. They do not speak loudly. The ropes creak in their hands, and the boats shift with quiet agreement. The gulls wheel once, their wings glinting, before they choose silence again. A baker stirs his oven in a small side street. The coals have cooled through the dark hours, but with a gentle breath, they begin to glow again. The flour at his side is coarse, ground from Nile grain, carried by cart to this harbor city. He kneads with slow hands, folding dough upon itself, never rushing, always steady. The room smells faintly of ash, and then, gradually, of bread. Anchor, the air cools along. The stone floor, the smell of ash lingers. Breath slows to match the morning. The city stirs in layers. A door opens, shutters creak, sandals brush dust. No call is urgent, no step is hurried. A woman rinses a clay jug at the well, her hands tracing its rim before, lowering it carefully into the water. The jug returns heavier, its surface damp and cool. Droplets tracing down the clay before disappearing into the earth. The marketplace does not shout itself awake. Traders spread mats upon the ground, laying out jars of oil, baskets of dates, strings of garlic and onions. The smell is simple and close to the earth. One arranges amphorae of wine, each sealed with clay stoppers that keep silence as well as liquid. Another tilts a basket of beans, the small seeds shifting like dry rain. Anchor, the light softens across the square. Cloth rustles. Footsteps fade into even rhythm. Near the harbor's edge, shipmen unload cargo from the islands and the mainland beyond. Bundles of papyrus reeds, rolls of linen, jars of honey, and blocks of resin are set carefully on the stone. A man checks a tally on a small strip of writing, then nods, rolling it again. Nothing is loud, for the harbor has learned its own rhythm. The waves lift and fall, brushing the stone quay with steady insistence. Beyond, the lighthouse of Pharos watches in silence. Its pale blocks rise above the city, touched now by the first sun, glowing like a quiet flame. Its fire, kept through the night, dims slightly against the day, but does not vanish. Travelers glance upward, not to admire, but to acknowledge its presence, like a guardian. Anchor. The sea breathes evenly. The stone holds warmth, slowly. The body loosens with a rhythm in another street. A potter lifts the lid of his kiln. The bricks still hold yesterday's heat. Inside, bowls and small lamps wait, their glaze cooled to colors that rest quietly blue, green, pale, brown. He removes them one by one, tapping gently to test their sound. Each bowl replies with a low note, then stills again. He sets them upon reed mats, where they catch the softer light of morning. Children wander between stalls, carrying nothing but curiosity. They run a finger along the rim of a basket, trace a line in dust, or count shells left at a stall's edge. They do not rush. The city allows them to be small, to move without demand. Anchor, shadows fold into the corners. The air holds a cool edge. Breath chooses a slower path. The library waits behind its high walls. Its doors of cedar remain closed for now, but the courtyard already stirs. Young assistants sweep with reed brooms, the bristles brushing across, stone in soft arcs. Dust gathers and shifts away, settling where corners accept it. A jar of water is poured gently along the path, the splash darkening stone, then fading. The air smells faintly of papyrus, dry, fibrous, holding memory of reeds. Cut long ago at a side entrance, a scribe arrives with a satchel. It is not heavy, though inside lie rolls of writing borrowed from ships in the harbor. The library receives these scrolls, copies them, and returns them quietly, keeping one version for itself. The scribe sets the satchel down, nods to the attendant, and waits. The doors will open soon, but not yet. There is time for silence. The sun rises more fully now, though it does not press. Its warmth stretches slowly, touching walls, moving along lanes, finding the marble edges of statues. The city accepts this light with calmness. Columns glow in pale cream, roofs brighten, and the harbor water glitters without insisting on notice. In the marketplace, voices begin to weave together, yet none are sharp. A man calls for figs, not loudly, but with the ease of habit. A woman adjusts a strip of cloth, shading her stall, its weave filtering the sunlight into a soft pattern. Jars of oil stand in rows, their curves catching brief reflections, then releasing them. A fishmonger lays woven leaves across his catch, protecting freshness, allowing air to move gently. Anchor, the market sighs as cloth shifts. The light softens across jars. Breath follows with even length. The baker has brought his loaves to the square. He arranges them in forgiving rows, each round resting quietly against the next. He does not advertise them. The smell will find those who pass. One woman kneels, lifts a loaf, presses its weight gently in her hand, then chooses without speaking. She leaves a measure of beans in return, their sound against the bowl like a short rain. The baker nods once, sets the beans aside, and waits again. Two boys roll a small hoop along the square's edge. They stop when they must, start again when space allows. The hoop wobbles once, steadies itself, and continues as if remembering balance. The sound of its wood against stone is brief, never breaking the calm. Anchor, a shadow drifts across the mat. The square breathes evenly. Shoulders ease by a finger's width. Not far from the market, the harbor stretches wide. Ships from Rhodes, from Cyprus, from Egypt's own delta, rest along the quay. Their masts rise like bare trees, sails furled, ropes coiled. Men step across planks with careful feet, carrying amphorae one by one. The jars are heavy, yet they are set down gently, with respect for both contents and stone. A scribe stands nearby, making brief notes on a narrow strip of papyrus. He counts the jars, writes the tally, then rolls the strip and ties it with cord. His reed pen rests in a small case. His knife is tucked beside it. He does not hurry. The harbor has its own pace, and his writing follows. Anchor, the sea moves. Against stone, ropes creak and fall still. The body settles into rhythm. The lighthouse stands above it all. Pharos rises in tears, pale blocks fitted together with precision, holding the memory of quarry and chisel. Ka, at its top, the flame that guided ships through night now dims against day. Its smoke curls into the sky, then dissolves, leaving only brightness. Sailors look once toward it, then return to their work. It is less a wonder than a certainty, like the river that never fails. In the streets, a teacher leads pupils toward a shaded colonnade. The children carry small tablets, waxed surfaces ready for practice. Their sandals scuff lightly along stone, their voices repeating phrases too softly to disturb. They sit beneath columns where shade is deep, and the teacher recites a line from Homer. The words pass into morning air, not loud, not forced, only steady. The children echo, some faltering, some sure, but all within rhythm. Anchor, the shade, cools along the wall. The voices soften. Breath gathers into gentle chorus. The library's gates open at last. They swing inward with weight, but not with drama. Assistants carry baskets of scrolls to their places. Each roll is handled with care, lifted with 2 hands, set on shelves that wait like long companions. The scent of papyrus grows stronger inside, mingled with the faint resin of cedar boxes. The air is still, as if holding its own breath for the words it contains. A young attendant lights a lamp in one of the darker corridors. Though daylight is enough, the flame steady shadows where writing might be strained. The wick catches slowly, then holds. The lamp glows without argument, returning the corridor to balance. Anchor, the flame steadies. The room accepts silence. Breath deepens in measured pace. A scribe takes his seat. His table is low, his tools arranged carefully. Pen, knife, ink, water. He unrolls a scroll slowly, smoothing the fibers with his palm, aligning edges with respect. The text is Greek, borrowed from a ship that docked yesterday. His task is to copy it, not interpret, not question. Each word passes through his hand, becoming another scroll, another layer of memory for the library. He dips his pen, draws the first line, lets the ink dry. His strokes are measured, his spacing deliberate, his margin observed with devotion. The work is not fast, but speed is not its purpose. Accuracy is. Patience is. Continuity is .anchor. Ink darkens on the page. Dust settles into corners. Breath steadies with each stroke. Outside, the city grows warmer. The sun reaches higher, but the sea breeze keeps its edge. Shutters are adjusted to block brightness. Mats are lifted to shade jars, and water is poured onto stone to cool the air. The streets do not lose calmness, even as sound increases. Every action finds its rhythm, neither rushing nor delaying. The harbor continues to fill with ships. The market fills with trade. The library fills with words. And all of Alexandria breathes, steady, deliberate, balanced between sea and land, between morning and midday. Midday arrives without urgency. The sun leans across rooftops and courtyards, casting shadows that shorten but never vanish. The harbor's water shimmers in broad strokes of light, broken only by the rhythm of waves against stone, sails furled. In the morning now stir slightly as the breeze strengthens, carrying salt, tar, and a faint trace of resin from cargo dot in the market square. Shade is prized. Stalls have lifted red mats above them, tied to wooden poles, creating patterned shadows that soften the glare. The mats breathe in the wind, their fibers creaking, their knots holding with quiet assurance. Beneath them, baskets of beans, figs, and dates remain steady, their scent warm but unhurried. Anchor, the canopy sighs once. The air thickens with warmth. Breath slows to match the shade. The baker rests for a moment now, his loaves half gone. He leans back against the wall, palms on his knees, eyes half closed. He does not call out, does not push his wares. The bread will be noticed, as always. A man exchanges a small clay jug of oil for 2 loaves. The jug is heavy, its surface darkened where oil seeped slightly through the stopper. It changes hands. With a nod, a word unspoken yet understood, children pass carrying small bundles wrapped in cloth. One pauses to watch a weaver mending a tear in linen. The weaver's hands move with soft precision, pulling thread through fabric, tightening, releasing, tightening again. The child stays only long enough to learn the rhythm, then continues down the lane. Anchor. The cloth folds into itself. The needle finds its path. The breath keeps even company. Along the harbor, workers pause to eat. They sit on the stone quay, feet dangling above the water, bread torn carefully and shared. Fishers chew slowly, their eyes following the shifting surface, noting ripples, noting the color of light on waves. One speaks softly, pointing toward a stretch of water where fish may gather by afternoon. The others nod, finishing their meal without hurry. The sound of ropes brushing wood returns as ships adjust to the tide. Cargo waits in ordered stacks, amphory sealed, crates bound with rope. A clerk marks each stack with a charcoal symbol. The lines, quick, familiar, repeated many times. When finished, he wipes his hand across his tunic, leaving a faint, dark smear, then moves on. Anchor. The sea moves evenly. The rope sighs and falls still. The harbor breathes in long measures. Inside the library, midday changes little. Light from high windows shifts, but never dominates. Scribes continue their work, bent above tables, reeds in hand, scrolls unrolled carefully before them. The scratch of pen against papyrus is soft, a sound more like brushing than cutting. Pages dry against warmed stones, their fibers accepting ink, their lines holding shape. A boy apprentice carries water in a shallow dish to refresh ink. The liquid shines briefly, then darkens as soot blends once again. He stirs slowly with a reed, letting the mixture thicken to its right weight. When done, he places the dish back without sound, and the scribe continues as though time itself had not moved. Anchor. The ink deepens. The reed returns. The breath becomes a steady circle. Another corridor holds scrolls in cedar boxes. The boxes are labeled with painted marks, Greek beside Egyptian, side by side, without conflict. An attendant checks them, moving lids carefully, ensuring each roll is dry, intact, and undisturbed by insects. Cedar's faint resin lingers in the air, subtle, familiar, protective. The attendant nods once at the order, closes the lids, and steps back into silence. The library is never loud. Even when many feet cross its marble floors, the sound disperses into softness. Conversations occur in whispers, measured and brief. Knowledge here is not shouted. It is preserved, carried in calmness, waiting for those who will seek it. Anchor. The corridor cools in shade. Footsteps fade into marble. Breath eases into silence. Beyond the library, the streets widen. Merchants sell pottery, bronzes, ivory, combs, and dyed cloth from distant lands. The air holds scents layered upon one another, roasting chickpeas, oil lamps burning faintly, and the resin of incense from nearby shrines. Nothing is overwhelming. The smells blend into a fabric of daily life. A musician tests a reed flute at the corner of the square, carried almost private, carried only as far as his own shadow. He adjusts a finger hole, tries again, then nods, satisfied. The sound lingers for a moment, then dissolves into the air. A passerby tilts his head to listen, then continues without pause. Anchor. The note fades. The shade lengthens. The breath finds slower ground. By midday, the city holds a rhythm complete unto itself. The harbor breathes. The market exchanges. The library preserves. The homes prepare meals of beans, bread, and water. All exist together without rush, without conflict. The day moves forward, not pulled, but allowed, steady as the tide, certain as the light. Asterisk afternoon leans upon thee. City with no demand. The sun lowers slightly, yet its warmth lingers, softened by the steady sea breeze. The harbor stones, warmed since dawn, begin to release their heat in gentle breaths. Shadows stretch across the quay, meeting water that glows in muted silver. Merchants continue their work, but with slower movements now. The morning's eagerness has softened into calm exchange. A trader of dates arranges the last of his baskets, aligning them in quiet rows. He does not call attention to them. The fruit is known, its sweetness trusted. One customer approaches, weighing a handful, then nods, leaving a measure of barley in return. Anchor. The mat cools beneath the basket. Cloth sighs against stone. Breath follows the slower pattern. The baker gathers his remaining loaves. A few are traded for beans, another for oil. The last loaf is placed carefully into a cloth, folded twice, carried home without ceremony. His stall is not dismantled quickly. He waits until the square itself begins to thin, then moves. His tray, lighter now, balances easily in his hands. Children wander less in the bright heat. Finding corners of shade beneath porticos, they sit. In small groups, sharing water from clay cups, tracing lines in dust, counting shells again. Their laughter, when it rises, does not pierce the air. It drifts softly, carried away before it can linger. Anchor. The shade deepens at the wall. Dust cools beneath fingers. Breath slows into even rest. At the harbor, sailors mend nets. The cords, stiffened by salt, are loosened and retied with practiced patience. One man threads a new cord through, his fingers steady, his pace unbroken. Another checks knots, pulling once, then releasing. Their work carries no haste. The sea will return, and they will be ready. Nearby, a clerk finalizes tallies from earlier deliveries. He unrolls a papyrus strip, reads the numbers, adds one more line, then seals it with a small clay lump. The impression of his ring presses briefly, leaving its mark. The clay dries in air, quiet, unremarkable, yet enough. Anchor. The pen rests in the cup. The seal hardens. The breath lingers at the edge of stillness. Within the library, the light grows softer. High windows admit beams that slant across shelves, touching scrolls with golden dust. A scribe pauses to stretch his fingers, then returns to his work without sigh or complaint. Another closes a scroll carefully, tying it with cord, placing it back into its cedar box. The faint scent of resin rises again, familiar, protective, steady. Young attendants sweep once more, this time for evening order. Their brooms whisper across marble, gathering dust into corners, leaving the floor even. The sound is low, steady, rhythmic, like breath carried through stone. Anchor. The broom passes softly. The dust settles again. The breath steadies with each stroke. Outside the library, a small shrine accepts offerings. A woman lights a stick of incense, its smoke curling upward, slow and deliberate. She bows her head briefly, then departs. The smoke remains, folding into itself, turning upon air, dissolving without hurry. The smell lingers, faintly sweet. Resinous, quiet. The marketplace begins to close. Stalls are folded, baskets lifted, jars carried back along narrow streets. Voices fade, sandals, brush, stone, shutters are drawn halfway. No one rushes to end the day. It concludes by degrees, one act at a time. Anchor, the square exhales, cloth folds into stillness. Breath grows even, steady, low. The harbor to prepares. Nets are gathered, ropes coiled, sails checked and bound for night's rest. A gull cries once, then settles upon the quay. The waves, never ceasing, keep their measured rhythm, their sound unbroken. The lighthouse glows again as evening nears. Its flame, tended all day, is fed for night. The smoke rises, darker now, against the fading sky. Travelers glance once more, acknowledging its watch, its steady promise. It will keep its vigil as the city turns inward. Anchor, the sea darkens slightly. The flame steadies above stone. The breath finds its deepest rhythm in the homes near the harbor. Lamps are lit. Clay vessels with small flames flicker, their light. Soft, their glow contained. Children curl upon mats. Mothers stir pots once more. Fathers set tools aside. The smell of lentils, bread, and garlic rises gently, filling the narrow courtyards. Voices lower, feet slow, air cools along walls. The city rests in its rhythm, balanced between sea and land, between harbor and library, between temple and home. No part hurries, no part lags. Alexandria moves forward, steady as the tide, even as day leans quietly toward night. The sun climbs without haste, casting its light across the library's walls. The marble stones brighten in layers, first pale, then warmer, as if the city itself exhales with the morning. Inside, scribe prepares his tools, neither early nor late, but exactly when the day allows. His table is low, made of wood worn smooth by many years of hands. Upon it rests a papyrus sheet, pale and waiting, its fibers pressed flat, its edges trimmed carefully. Beside it sits a shallow dish of ink, blackened from soot mixed with water and gum. The surface is still, reflecting a faint band of light from the high window. He takes his reed pen, long and slender, and with a small bronze knife. He trims its tip. The blade scrapes softly, shaving a sliver that falls like a thin reed leaf. He tests the edge upon his thumb, then dips the pen lightly into the ink. The first stroke falls across papyrus, steady, measured, and exact. The hours advance without announcement. Shadows shift across the floor. First long, then shorter, then widening again. The scribe does not count them. Time for him is measured in lines copied, scrolls dried, and tools sharpened. He pauses, setting the reed gently across the rim of the ink cup. The surface of the liquid trembles once, then settles back into stillness. He lifts a sheet he has just finished, weighing it lightly in his hands. The ink shines faintly, still damp in places. He sets the sheet upon a flat stone warmed by the sun, where it will dry evenly. Anchor. The stone holds warmth. The ink steadies. Breath becomes a measured companion. Another papyrus is drawn forward. The fibers are checked. The edges aligned, the surface smoothed by a palm. The sheet waits, patient, and pale. He sharpens the reed once more, the small scrape falling away like dust. The pen dips, the stroke begins, the work renews itself without strain. Outside, market sounds rise faintly through the shutters. They are softened by distance, a trader's call, the scrape of a basket, the quiet barter of beans for bread. The library accepts these sounds, but only distantly, as though they belong to another world. Inside, only pen and breath remain. Anchor, shadows cool the corners. The reed drinks ink. The breath follows in even rhythm. At mid-morning, the steward of the scroll room enters. He carries a cedar box beneath. One arm he sets it upon the table and unties the cord. Inside rest several scrolls. Brought from the harbor that week, they bear dust from travel, faint smells of tar and salt. The steward lifts one, smooths its edges, and places it before the scribe. The task is explained briefly. Softly, this scroll is to be copied and returned. The words within will remain, but the library must preserve its own record. The scribe bows his head once in acknowledgement, then sets the roll to his left. When his current page is finished, he will begin again, line by line. Anchor, the box closes. Cedar's resin lingers. Breath steadies into patience. By midday, the air thickens with warmth. Windows are adjusted. Shutters half close to filter the sun. The room cools by degrees. Shadows falling deeper across the stone. The scribes continue, their bodies accustomed. To this rhythm, their hands steady, their backs upright. The scribe receives a meal brought by a boy. Bread folded in cloth. Beans in a small dish. Water in a plain cup. He sets the reed aside, washes his fingers briefly, and begins without rush. The bread is torn quietly. The beans eaten slowly, each mouthful given time. The water follows, cool against his throat, leaving clay damp in his hand. Anchor, bread softens upon the tongue. Water cools the hand. Breath deepens with release. When the meal is finished, he folds the cloth, sets it aside, and wipes his fingers once more. The reed pen is lifted again, trimmed slightly, dipped again. The ink welcomes the return, dark and patient, eager to continue its path across the sheet. The work resumes, not broken, but renewed at another table. A clerk checks completed scrolls. He unrolls them partway, reading briefly, ensuring accuracy, spacing, and margin. He speaks little, asking only a question when needed. The scribe answers with few words, precise and sufficient. The scroll is tied, sealed with clay, and marked for storage. Anchor, clay softens beneath thumb, cord tightens. Breath eases into steadiness. The room returns to silence. Only the sound of reed across papyrus remains. A faint breeze enters, stirring dust, shifting the flame of a single lamp. The flame bends, then straightens, and holds its place again. The breeze passes, leaving the air cooler, more forgiving. Anchor, the flame steadies. The dust settles. The breath chooses calmness once more. The scribe bends again to his work. The afternoon waits quietly, filled with lines still to be copied. No pressure is felt, for the task is endless and unmeasured. There will always be more scrolls, more words, more memory to preserve. His role is not to finish, but to continue, as steady as the tide. Anchor, the room cools. The ink settles into fibers. Breath deepens and lengthens. The scribe's task is not invention, creation, but preservation. He copies a scroll borrowed from a ship docked yesterday. The library gathers these works, multiplicates them, and returns the originals, keeping one version for its own shelves. Each word that passes through his hand is meant to endure. Not for him, but for others he will never know. The scroll before him is Greek, a poem in lines that fall evenly across the page. He does not read for pleasure. He does not judge the meaning. He writes what is given, stroke by stroke, letter by letter, margin by margin. His breath aligns with the rhythm of the pen, neither quick nor slow. It finds its place in the calm of repetition. Outside faint harbor, sounds reach the library, the low creak of ropes, the gull's brief call, the hum of men moving crates. Inside, these noises soften against stone, becoming background, becoming distant. Never disturbing, the library keeps its own atmosphere, separate. Like a deep pool, untouched by surface waves. Anchor, the harbor fades. The corridor cools. Breath remains even, unbroken. The scribe pauses only to sharpen his pen again. The scrape of knife against reed is soft, precise, quickly gone. He dips into the ink once more, then resumes his work. Each letter flows with even pressure, each line with careful spacing. The scroll grows steadily, not hurried, not delayed, at intervals. Kay lifts his eyes to the margin, ensuring balance. He leaves space where notes may later be added, but adds none himself. His duty is not to question or explain, only to preserve faithfully. The papyrus accepts the ink, darkening briefly, then drying into permanence. Anchor, the ink dries quietly. Dust gathers at corners. Breath flows like water across stone. Beside him, another scribe works on a different scroll. Their breaths align. Though they do not speak, the sound of two pens moving across papyrus is not noise, but rhythm, like wind. Moving through reeds, the room becomes a vessel of steady labor. Each man absorbed in the quiet duty of copying. A boy apprentice enters. Carrying a small jug of water, he pours into a cup without spilling, sets it beside the scribe, then waits. The scribe lifts the cup, drinks slowly, sets it down. No words pass between them. The act itself is enough. The boy nods, then moves on to the next table. Anchor, water touches clay. The cup cools the hand. Breath slows again. The morning lengthens. Scrolls grow heavier with ink. Tables darker with shadows. The work continues without pause, not urgent, not reluctant. It simply continues. The way the sea continues, the way the tide never forgets its path. The afternoon gathers slowly, as though stretching itself across the city. The light no longer strikes sharply. It mellows, falling at an angle through the high windows. Dust, stirred gently by movement, becomes visible in the beams, drifting, like faint threads. The library accepts this shift, keeping its silence unchanged. The scribe places another completed sheet aside. He weighs it beneath a flat stone, ensuring the fibers dry without curling. The ink darkens as it sets, no longer shining, but sinking into the papyrus with permanence. The sheet, once pale and empty, now holds a quiet memory, preserved in strokes. That will not fade quickly. Anchor. The stone warms softly. The ink rests. Breath loosens into longer measure. He reaches for a scroll waiting in its cedar box. Its cord is untied. the fibers cracking slightly as they release. The roll opens carefully, revealing its lines, written long before. Some letters have softened with time, edges blurred where ink met damp air. The scribe studies them for a moment, then sets his hand to copy. The reed pen drinks once more from the ink dish. Its tip touches the papyrus, laying down a mark, steady and exact. He begins to replicate the faded words, restoring them line by line. Each stroke becomes both repetition and renewal, giving the old text another life. Anchor. The reed moves evenly. The letters regain their shape. Breath follows their rhythm. A clerk enters quietly, carrying a basket of seals. He places them upon a table, each made of clay, some still soft, some hardened. The seals are small, but each bears an impression, a symbol, a mark, an emblem of trust. Clerk sets one beside a newly finished roll, pressing it into place. The clay accepts the mark, holding it firmly as it dries. The scribe does not look up, but he feels the rhythm of the work around him. Others move with equal steadiness, carrying, tying, sealing, storing. A voice rises above a whisper. No movement disturbs another. The library continues as though time were endless. Anchor. Clay yields beneath the hand. The cord holds its knot. Breath steadies once again. By mid-afternoon, lamps are trimmed. Though sunlight still enters, it begins to fade within corridors. An attendant checks each wick, cutting them neatly, ensuring the flame will burn cleanly. When lit, oil jars are opened, their faint smell of olives drifting through the room. The wicks are dipped, replaced, and left unlit, waiting for dusk. Anchor. The oil darkens the rim. The wick rests in readiness. Breath deepens with patience. The scribe straightens his back briefly, then resumes. He has copied hundreds of lines, yet his pace has not changed. Each word flows into the next. Each sentence concludes without flourish. The papyrus accepts everything calmly, without resistance. He pauses only when the reed dulls. The knife appears, again slicing softly, giving the pen a finer point. A sliver falls to the floor, joining others unnoticed, except by the stone that keeps them. The pen dips again, renewed, and continues its journey. Anchor. The blade whispers once, the sliver falls. Breath steadies in return. A boy brings a jug of cool water, setting it down without sound. The scribe accepts a cup, drinks twice, and returns it. The boy lingers for a moment, watching the letters form, then steps away. The scribe continues without pause, as if water and work were parts of the same act. The hours pass without drama. Outside, the harbor shifts with tide and trade. Inside, the library holds its constant pulse, quiet, measured, enduring. The scribe writes, the scroll grows, the day continues, the afternoon narrows toward evening. Though the library does not mark the hour, light shifts again, falling lower, spilling long shapes across the floor. Columns stretch their shadows, leaning into the room like patient guardians. The air cools slightly as the sun prepares to leave the western sky. The scribe pauses to complete his current line. He lifts the reed, places it gently across the rim of the ink dish. The surface ripples once, then calms, leaving a thin circle of darkness where the pen rested. He exhales, long and steady, then unrolls the scroll he has finished. Anchor. The scroll settles softly. The ink fades into stillness. Breath lingers without weight. He ties the roll with cord, careful not to tighten too much. The knot holds firmly, yet releases easily for the next reader. A clerk approaches with a seal of clay, still soft, still warm from shaping. Together they press it into place, marking it with an emblem that certifies its trust. The clay accepts, the imprint without resistance, preserving it as it dries in evening air. The scribe adds the roll to a cedar box, setting it alongside others. The smell of resin rises faintly, filling the corridor with its steady presence. The box is closed, tied with cord, and lifted by the clerk. The sound of footsteps fades as the box is carried toward the storage room. Anchor. The cedar scent lingers. Footsteps fade into silence. Breath follows the corridor's calm. One by one, lamps are lit. The wicks catch slowly, then glow with quiet steadiness. Their flames are small, contained, never leaping, never hurried. They do not banish darkness. They soften it, folding shadow and light into balance. The library becomes a place of gentle glow, scrolls resting in half-light stone, breathing quietly around them. The scribe continues for a short while longer, copying until the page is complete. He knows the day does not end with the last word, but with order restored. He sets the reed aside, wipes it with a damp cloth, and trims its tip once more. The cloth darkens slightly, then rests again, ready for another day. Anchor, the flame, steadies on stone. The reed rests in silence. Breath releases into ease. He gathers the day's work, binding sheets into a small bundle. The bundle is placed beneath a flat stone, safe until morning. He clears his table, brushing aside small slivers of reed, aligning the knife, the cup, the pen. Nothing is left untended. Each item waits in stillness for its next use. Around him. Other scribes complete the same ritual. Tables are cleared, scrolls tied, lamps adjusted. No words are exchanged, for none are needed. The work itself is language enough, understood by all who serve here. Anchor, the tables empty. The lamps breathe softly. Its breath remains slow, steady, whole. When his place is in order, the scribe rises. His knees stiffen briefly, then release. He walks through the corridor, his sandals soft upon the stone. He passes shelves heavy with scrolls, each one holding a voice of past days. The voices do not speak, yet their presence fills the air at the great doors. Attendants wait. They swing the cedar panels inward, their hinges groaning softly, then falling silent. The library closes not abruptly, but like the day itself, slowly, gently. With weight, but without force, the scribe steps into the courtyard. Evening light lies across the paving stones, warm and pale, fading by degrees. He breathes once, deeply, feeling the coolness return. Behind him, the doors settle, sealing the library in its own silence. Anchor, the doors rest. The courtyard cools. Breath widens. Into the open air, he walks the streets of Alexandria at dusk. The harbor smells of tar and salt, softened now by the evening wind. Shutters close, lamps glow within narrow homes, and the marketplace empties into silence. Children are gathered inside. Families share bread and lentils. Voices lower into evening. Tones. The lighthouse of Pharos brightens once more, its flame strong against the coming dark. The beam turns upon itself, casting its watch across the sea. The scribe glances upward, then continues his path. The lighthouse will remain awake, though the city rests. He reaches his door as the last light fades. The day is complete, though nothing dramatic has occurred. It has been a day of lines written, scrolls copied, memory preserved. Tomorrow will be the same and the same again after that. This is not burden, but balance. The library endures through such days, as steady as the sea, as certain as the tide. Beyond the city's bustle, paths wind toward the cliffs. The ground changes underfoot, less stone, more dust, shifting with each step. The air carries a faint dryness, touched by desert, though the sea is never far. Here the tombs wait, carved into rock, their doors low, their chambers deep. The entrances are simple, some marked by faint carvings, others plain. Stone lintels bear inscriptions weathered by centuries of wind. Symbols of ankhs, jed pillars, and scarabs appear, softened, but still steady. Each doorway opens into coolness, the air immediately quieter, slower, more deliberate. Anchor, the stone cools the palm. Shadows lean inward. Breath steadies at the threshold. Inside, walls hold paintings that have learned patience. Figures walk sideways across plaster, their gestures frozen, their colors subdued. Red has softened into rust. Blue has shifted toward green. White has dimmed into cream. Yet their meaning remains. A man steps forward with bread. A woman holds a lotus. A child reaches toward a bird. These scenes do not fade entirely, for they are not just decoration, but memory, in one chamber. Offerings still lie near a low table. A bowl once filled with grain rests empty, yet it retains its purpose. A jug with broken neck leans against the wall, still smelling faintly of clay and old water. Beside it rests an amuleta, small scarab of faience, blue-green, chipped along one edge. Though centuries have passed, it remains where hands placed it. Waiting without complaint, anchor, the scarab rests in shadow. Dust settles in layers. Breath slows into deep quiet. Farther in, amulets lie close to the departed. A string of beads encircles a wrist, their glaze dulled but intact. Ankh rests upon a chest, its loop smooth from handling. Blue eye sits near the head, its pupil clear even in dim light. These are not adornments, but guardians, meant to travel with the soul. They are companions, not for this life, but for the unseen journey beyond. The air is heavy, yet calm. It does not move quickly, yet it surrounds everything with care. A visitor stands still, not from fear, but from respect. Hush. The silence is whole, unbroken, like water that has forgotten to ripple. Anchor, silence holds the chamber. Stone keeps its patience. Breath lowers into even measure. Paintings continue in room after room. A cat sits before a table, its eyes large, its body painted with quick, confident lines. A fish appears beneath it, caught forever in the act of waiting. A priest raises his hands in offering, frozen mid-gesture. The scenes repeat, yet each room feels unique, shaped by the life it remembers. In one niche, a lotus blooms, painted in strokes that remain soft despite age. Its petals open outward, never wilting, never fading beyond recognition. It is a flower not of this world, but of memory and eternity. Even in shadow, it carries calmness, reminding the visitor that life and death share the same stillness. Anchor. The lotus softens against plaster. Colors lean into rest. Breath finds the same stillness at the doorway. The world waits. Stepping outside, the air feels brighter. The light almost too sharp at first. The cliffs warm quickly under the sun, their surfaces glowing with pale fire. Yet the memory of the tomb lingers, its coolness carried outward, resting on the skin. Even in heat, a breeze passes, carrying with it the scent of dust, reeds, and faint sea salt. Children play near the cliff's base, their laughter thin but gentle. They chase shadows, lift stones, and call to one another. Life remains, close and continuous, even beside chambers of silence. Anchor. The breeze moves along the cliff. Dust softens upon skin. Breath opens once more. The path turns back toward the city. Walls appear first, then roofs, then the tall columns of the Serapeum. The lighthouse glows faint in daylight, but certain its smoke trailing into sky. The city holds both, tomb and market, silence and sound, death and life. Each accepts the other without conflict, balanced by the rhythm of the sea. Asterisk, evening leans upon the city, softening its edges. The marketplace that began with shouts now closes in near silence. Vendors gather their wares with slow hands, folding cloth, stacking baskets, tying cords. Amulets are lifted gently, wrapped in linen, placed into wooden boxes. Their surfaces glimmer once in lamplight, then disappear into shadow, waiting for another day. A potter closes his kiln, brushing ash from his hands. Inside, beads fired earlier still glow faintly red, cooling at their own pace. He does not rush them. The heat will release slowly, evenly. Tomorrow, he will open the door and remove them, each one hardened, each one ready to be touched and carried. Anchor. The kiln cools in steady silence. Ash drifts to the ground. Breath slows with evening air. Children linger at graffiti walls, tracing names they do not recognize. They laugh softly, adding their own circles, their own quick lines, their own small voices to the wall's quiet chorus. A lamp flickers nearby, its flame bending in the breeze, then straightening again. The wall glows in places, shadows deepening. In others, each mark given equal presence. An older man stops before one inscription. He touches the wall lightly, following the carved letters with his finger. The words are simple, a prayer for safe travel, left long ago. He bows his head briefly, then walks on, leaving the words to remain as they have always remained. Anchor. The wall cools beneath fingers. Lamplight steadies across plaster. Breath deepens in stillness. Shrines grow quiet as incense fades. Smoke curls upward more faintly now, thinning, dissolving into night air. Yet its scent lingers, caught in stone, carried upon robes, remembered long after the flame has gone. A small scarab rests upon a ledge, left by unseen hands. It glimmers briefly, then grows indistinct in shadow. It will remain through the night, a companion to silence. Anchor. Smoke drifts softly. Scarab rests in shadow. Breath widens into calm release. Along the streets, lamps are lit, one by one. Each flame glows small but steady, never pushing back the dark completely, only softening it. The city becomes a landscape of shadows and gentle light. Doors close, shutters draw, voices lower. Yet within walls, amulets hang by cords, graffiti waits in silence, and tombs rest beyond, carrying their mysteries into night. A potter threads one final necklace by lamplight, tying its cord with a simple knot. The beads clink softly against one another, then fall still. He places the piece in a small box, closes the lid, and rests his hands upon it. The day's work is complete, though nothing is declared. Completion is quiet, like breath at the end of a long rhythm. Anchor, beats rest in silence. The knot holds. Firm breath eases into conclusion. The harbor too quiets itself. Nets are gathered, sails tied, ropes coiled. The lighthouse brightens against the dark, its fire fed, its smoke rising into the night. Travelers glance once toward it, then turn to rest. It will remain awake for them, holding vigil as they sleep. The city, with all its mysteries, rests now. Amulets, graffiti, tombs, beads all keep their silence. They do not need to explain themselves, for their presence is enough. Alexandria holds them as part of its breath, steady, enduring, certain, anchor. The sea breathes against stone, glow within walls. Breath joins the rhythm of the city at night. The city holds its mysteries not in loud proclamations, but in small, quiet signs. Along the narrow lanes near the Serapeum Temple, vendors arrange their tables. They spread cloth across low wooden boards, then place their wares carefully in rows. These are not jars of oil or baskets of figs, but objects smaller, carried for meaning rather than sustenance. Amulets rest in the open air, each one no larger than a palm. Some are carved from faience, a blue-green glaze that holds light, like water. Others are shaped from stone, their surfaces smooth with many touches. Scarabs appear often tiny beetles, carved with precision, their backs rounded, their undersides bearing etched signs. Beside them lie eyes of protection, simple ovals with pupils marked in black, their gaze unblinking. Anchor, the cloth cools. In shade, viands glimmers softly. Breath steadies into even rhythm. A woman lifts one of the scarabs, feeling its weight in her palm. It is not heavy, but she holds it carefully, turning it once, then setting it back. She whispers a word to the vendor, who nods, neither hurried nor insistent. The object will remain until chosen, and if not today, then tomorrow or the day after. These amulets are made for patience, for journeys longer than a market day. Children pass by, their fingers brushing the edges of the cloth. They do not take, but they touch, curious, tracing lines they do not yet understand. One boy stops before a row of tiny blue eyes. He leans close, his own eye meeting the glazed pupil for a moment, then moves on. Anchor, the air cools against stone. Small voices drift away. Breath softens into curiosity. In the shadow of the temple wall, another kind of inscription waits. Scratched into plaster, faint but clear, are marks left by anonymous hands. Some are names letters cut quickly, without flourish, yet carrying permanence. Others are simple drawings, a boat with its sail, a bird in outline, a palm tree rendered with quick strokes. Prayers appear, 2 short phrases asking gods for health, for safe passage, for memory to endure. The scribe who passes here does not pause long. He does not copy these markings, for they are not part of his duty. Yet he sees them, as all do, acknowledging them without judgment. Grand inscriptions belong to kings and priests, but these belong to anyone with a hand and a thought. They stand side by side, each mark a quiet declaration that someone once stood here. Anchor, the wall cools beneath shadow. Lines remain in plaster. Breath lingers at the edge of stillness. Beyond the city, tombs rest in the cliffs. The path toward them winds slowly, carrying the smell of dust and stone. These tombs do not shout their presence. They open only when approached closely. Their doors are low, their chambers cut into rock, their air cool, their silence complete. Inside, paintings soften with time. Figures once bright now fade, their outlines blurred, their colors muted. A man holds bread, offering it to the afterlife. A woman holds a lotus, its petals still visible, though their blue has turned to green. The walls remember these gestures, even as centuries pass. Anchor, the stone cools beneath the hand. Colors fade into stillness. Breath slows to match the chamber. Amulets lie here as well, placed near hands, near hearts, near resting bodies. They are not displayed, but hidden, meant for protection where eyes do not go. Scarab rests upon a chest, a blue eye near the wrist, a small bead near the throat. They are silent companions, meant not for this world, but for the one beyond. The air is dry, yet it holds weight. It carries the sense of journeys not yet finished, promises still kept. The visitor steps softly, not wishing to disturb what has chosen to remain. Anchor, the chamber holds silence. Dust rests upon stone. Breath deepens and waits. Outside the tombs, the light feels brighter. The air is warmer, the sky more open. Children gather reeds. Women carry jars. Men lift nets. Life continues, always near. Yet the memory of the tomb lingers. Its coolness carried back into the sun. Asterisk within the city. Far from tombs, hands continue shaping small objects meant for protection. A potter sits before his wheel, not to form large jars, but beads and charms. The clay is rolled thin, pinched, and pressed into tiny molds. Some will become scarabs, others simple discs, others figures of gods no taller than a thumb. He works with patience, as though time itself were clay. Each shape is pressed, smoothed, and set aside. A tray fills slowly, no two alike, yet all sharing a quiet purpose. Beside the wheel lies a shallow dish of glaze, blue and green powders waiting to be brushed. The potter dips a reed, stirs, and paints each surface lightly. The glaze dulls at first, but he knows the kill will transform it into brilliance. Anchor. The wheel turns softly. Clay rests in waiting. Breath folds into steady rhythm. Children watch from the doorway. One picks up a cooled bead from yesterday's firing. It is small, smooth, its color bright as the river in sunlight. The child rolls it between thumb and palm, fascinated by its surface. The potter allows this, for such objects are meant to be touched, carried, and held close. When enough pieces are ready, he threads them on cords of flax. Each bead slips into place, tapping gently against the next. The sound is faint, like rain against reeds. A necklace forms, then a bracelet, each one destined for a wrist, a neck, a pocket. The potter does not choose where they go. A tea only makes, and the city decides. Anchor, beads touch in soft rhythm. Flax holds them steady. Breath flows with the threading. Elsewhere, a scribe of another kind leaves his mark not on papyrus, but on stone. In a narrow lane, He scratches lines into a plaster wall. His letters are smaller than those in scrolls, yet no less deliberate. He carves his own name, then adds a phrase of prayer, a memory, a hope. The letters are uneven, cut with haste, but they endure. Others have left drawings beside his. Bird in flight, wings outstretched. A boat with sail, curved simply but recognizably. A palm tree, its trunk straight, its fronds suggested with quick strokes. The wall becomes a quiet gallery, filled not by artists, but by ordinary hands. Each mark is a voice, quiet yet insistent. I was here. I remain. Anchor. The wall cools at dusk. Scratches hold their lines. Breath pauses, then continues. Evening settles, and the graffiti grows. By lamplight, figures add their words. Some are lovers leaving initials, side by side, touching gently. Some are merchants recording a number, a sum, a promise to collect tomorrow. Some are children, scratching circles for no reason other than the joy of marking. Okay, all blend together, layers upon layers, a chorus of silent declarations. The wall does not protest. It receives each mark with equal patience, whether crude or careful, large or small. It holds them all, side by side, without judgment. Passers-by glance, sometimes stopping to read, sometimes not. The marks wait, needing nothing more than to exist. Anchor, lamplight glows upon plaster. Lines overlap softly. Breath slows with the fading day. In the shrines near the city's edge, amulets are placed as offerings. A woman sets down a scarab of bright faience. A man lays a string of beads across a stone ledge. A child presses a small blue eye into the dust, leaving it there with seriousness far beyond his years. Incense burns, its smoke curling upward. It does not rise quickly, but turns upon itself, folding, lingering, then slowly fading into night air. The smell is sweet, resinous, grounding. It clings to robes, to hair, to stone, long after the flame has died. Anchor, smoke, curls into stillness. Resin lingers in the air. Breath deepens with its weight. The city carries its mysteries in this way. Not hidden, not forced, but present in every wall, every bead, every carved symbol. They are quiet companions to daily life, reminders that life continues beyond food, trade, and shelter. The mysteries do not demand answers. They simply remain. Night settles gently across Alexandria. The harbor quiets, the market empties, and the lamps within homes begin to glow. In narrow streets near the water, houses lean toward one another, their mudbrick walls cooling after the day's warmth. Doors close, not in haste, but in rhythm with the evening's rest. Inside one dwelling, a family prepares their meal. The fire is small, its flame contained in a clay vessel. A pot rests above it, filled with lentils simmering slowly. The smell rises, soft and grounding, carrying garlic, oil, and the faint sweetness of onions. Bread, baked earlier, is torn into pieces, set upon a woven mat. Water waits in a jug, its clay surface damp with coolness. Anchor, the flame bends. The jug sweats with moisture. Breath slows with the scent of lentils. Children sit upon reed mats, their voices quiet, their eyes heavy with day's end. One counts shells, arranging them into lines upon the floor. Another traces shapes in dust, then wipes them away. The smallest leans against a mother's arm, breathing already close to sleep. The father eats without hurry, his hands steady, his shoulders lowered. The family does not speak loudly. Words are soft, few, sufficient. The meal is not grand, but it is complete, carrying all that is needed for strength. Anchor, the mat cools beneath hands. Shells rest in quiet rows. Breath deepens into evening rhythm. Outside, the lane is narrow. Neighbors pass slowly, offering nods instead of words. One carries a jug upon her shoulder, returning from the well. Another adjusts a reed mat at the doorway, shaking dust into the air before settling it again. The street holds them all without rush. Without sound pressing upward, far across the city, the Serapeum rises above these lanes. Its columns are tall, its walls built of stone that does not soften as mudbrick does. The temple glows with many lamps, each flame tended, each wick trimmed. Incense rises in curling streams, lifting sweetness into the night air. Priests walk in ordered steps, linen robes pale against the dark. Anchor, the incense thickens, lamps glow upon stone. Breath steadies within temple air. Chants echo within the courtyard, not loud, but resonant. They rise from many voices, blending into one steady sound. The rhythm is unbroken, moving forward without pause, without haste. Drums sound faintly, slow and deep, their tone carrying through columns, across stone, into sky. Here, bread too is offered, though not to children or families, but to gods. Loaves are placed upon stone altars, their crusts broken, their shapes intact. Jars of wine are poured, oil dripped, incense fed to flames. The temple receives these gifts, holding them in silence, just as homes receive theirs. Anchor, smoke curls. Above altars, drums find even measure. Breath aligns with the steady chant. The contrast is wide, yet both worlds exist within the same city. In one, bread is eaten for strength. In another, it is given for reverence. In one, lamps glow upon clay walls. In another, lamps blaze across marble courts. Yet, both flames flicker in the same night air, both steadied by the same sea breeze, both joined beneath the same stars. Anchor, the stars appear above roofs. The breeze moves between homes and temples. Breath flows through both without division. Asterisk inside the homes near the harbor. Lamps glow softly. Their flames are small, their light contained, their warmth just enough to hold the room. Shadows lean along walls, folding into corners where voices no longer reach. Children rest upon reed mats, their breathing even, their bodies curled into comfort. One child stirs, then settles again. Another shifts closer to a blanket, pulling its edge across the shoulder. The smallest curls against a clay jar, warmed from the day, its surface still holding faint heat. Sleep arrives quietly, without ceremony, as natural as the tide upon the shore. Anchor, the mat cools beneath their weight. The lamp steadies upon the wall. Breath slows into dreams. Mothers remain awake a little longer. One gathers loose thread, winding it carefully into a ball. Another weaves upon a small frame, her fingers moving without sound. The thread passes back and forth, like the rhythm of the sea outside. The cloth grows slowly, yet it grows, one line after another, steady, patient. The father trims the lamp's wick. He lifts the clay vessel, pours a little oil, sets it back upon its stand. The flame bends once, flares, then steadies again. The smell of olive oil lingers in the air, faint but grounding, familiar as breath itself. Anchor. The wick shortens. The oil darkens. Breath deepens with the steady glow. The home does not need more. Bread rests in cloth for tomorrow. Beans soak in a bowl. Water cools within a jug. Each object holds its place, its purpose. The family settles into quietness, night folding around them like a patient cloak. Beyond these lanes, the serapeum does not yet sleep. Its courtyards are wide, its columns tall, its lamps many. Here, night is not an ending, but a time of offering. Priests walk slowly, their steps measured, their voices low but continuous. Anchor. Stone cools beneath sandals. Torches shift with wind. Breath steadies within the chant. The chanting does not rush. It circles like smoke, rising, folding, returning again. The sound deepens against the walls, echoing, steady, without pause. Incense burns in bronze dishes, its smoke thick, carrying sweetness that clings to robes, to skin, to stone. The smell mingles with oil lamps, with faint traces of cedar doors. With the coolness of night air, offerings are placed upon altars. Bread, wine, oil, figs, flowers. Hands lift them carefully, set them down with reverence, step back with stillness. Nothing is wasted, for each gift holds meaning. Each act holds weight. The gods do not speak, yet the presence of silence itself is answer enough. Anchor. Smoke curls in slow rhythm. Torches bend and straighten. Breath follows the unbroken chant. In the distance, the homes and temple remain divided. Yet the same night holds them both. One glows with a single lamp, another with 100. One shares bread for hunger, another offers bread for eternity. One holds children in sleep, another holds priests in vigil. The sea listens to both. Its waves strike stone in even rhythm, neither louder nor softer for either place. The stars above shine without choosing, giving their light equally to mudbrick, lane, and marble court. Anchor. The sea keeps its cadence. Stars lean across roofs and columns. Breath steadies between both worlds. Midnight arrives without announcement. The city does not mark the hour with bells or calls. It simply shifts. The streets grow still. The lanes fall quiet. The lamps burn lower. The night deepens, wrapping Alexandria in a calm that is shared. Though not always seen, in the homes near the harbor, silence fills every space. Children lie unmoving upon mats, their breath slow, steady, unbroken. Mothers rest now, heads upon folded cloth, hands still for the first time since dawn. Fathers sleep as well, their bodies stretched across the cool earth floor, their shoulders finally released. Anchor. The lamp fades to a small flame. Shadows lean long across walls. Breath lowers into deep rhythm. Only the embers remain alive in the hearth. They glow faintly, a soft red hidden beneath ash. They do not demand attention. They only keep warmth enough to hold the room. The air is still, cool along the walls, patient as stone. The silence is not emptiness, it is completion. The day has ended, the work has been done. Sleep claims the household as fully as the tide claims the shore. No effort is required. No resistance remains. Anchor. Embers glow softly. The air cools gently. Breath merges with the stillness at the serapeum. Night is different, yet also steady. The lamps still burn, their flames tall, their oil renewed. Torches line the colonnades, their light spilling across marble, catching on carved stone. A teen sense continues, though more slowly now, its smoke curling in thinner strands. Its sweetness quieter, more restrained. The priests remain, though fewer than before. They walk slowly in pairs, their sandals soft against the cool pavement. Their chants are hushed, almost whispers, yet they carry through the courts. Each sound bounces from column to column, filling the temple with a rhythm that does not sleep. Anchor, torches sway with breeze. Chants echo softly. Breath falls into measured cadence. The statues stand motionless, lit by flickering flames. Their faces do not change, their gaze unblinking, their presence certain. Before them rest offerings, bread, figs, wine, oil unchanged. Since they were placed, no hand disturbs them. No voice claims them back. They remain as symbols, steady as stone, waiting without need. The temple is not loud, but it is awake. Its walls contain silence, yet not the silence of sleep. It is the silence of watchfulness, of vigil, of unbroken continuity. The city may sleep, but the gods, through their keepers, remain present. Anchor, flames bend and straighten. Marble cools beneath sandals. Breath steadies with the still watch. Beyond the temple, the city sleeps deeply. Roofs hold shadows. Courtyards are empty. Harbor waters lap without witness. Only a few lamps still glow, marking doorways for late returners. Even these flames are faint, their oil nearly gone. Their light folded into darkness, the sea continues its rhythm, steady, unchanging. It does not rest, yet it does not hurry. Accepts the night as it accepts the day, carrying both with equal calmness. Its waves touch the quay again and again, like breath against the city's edge. Anchor, waves fold against stone. Night air cools the skin. Breath deepens with the tide. The contrast holds. Homes at rest, temples awake. Yet both belong to the same city, the same night, the same stars. One lies within dream, the other within ritual. One is silent with sleep, the other with watch. Both are quiet, both are steady, both are necessary. Anchor, the stars shine across. Roofs and columns, shadows fall into place. Breath unites the two silences. Asterisk, the night holds its breath, then loosens. Stars lean toward the horizon, their light dimming as the first edge of dawn approaches. The lamps in narrow homes flicker low, their oil nearly spent, their flames bending thin. The embers in the hearth glow faintly, then fade their warmth. Surrendering to the cooler air within the homes, sleepers begin to stir. Children shift upon mats, stretching legs, curling again before waking. Mothers turn upon their sides, opening eyes slowly, then closing them once more. Fathers breathe deeply, not yet risen, but closer now to the day. Anchor, embers fade beneath ash. Mats soften beneath bodies. Breath grows steady but lighter. The first sound comes from a jug lifted at the well. Water spills, splashing against. Stone carrying coolness into the air. A door opens, with groaning softly upon its hinge. Sandals brush dust in the lane, the day's first footstep against the earth. A woman lights a new flame. She lifts a small ember from the hearth, places it against dry red, waits. The spark grows, catching slowly, feeding on fragments of straw. The flame steadies, bending, then rising into quiet glow. The home begins again, as it has begun countless times before. Anchor. Flame rises softly. Jug cools the hand. Breath renews. With morning air, far across the city, the Serapeum enters its own transition. The priests trim the lamps once more, but now to extinguish them. Oil is set aside, wicks pressed gently into darkness. Torches die one by one, their smoke curling upward, then fading into the pale sky. The chanting ceases, not abruptly, but with one last repetition carried into silence. The statues remain unchanged, their offerings undisturbed. Bread lies where it was placed. Wine darkens within its jar. Figs rest quietly upon stone. The gods require no removal, no reply. They are steady in both flame and shadow, in both day and night. Anchor, smoke softens against marble. Sandals fall still. Breath holds within silence. The temple returns to stillness. Its courts now empty, its gates closed. The vigil has ended, yet the presence remains. The priests depart, their robes folding around them, their steps measured, unhurried. They walk into dawn as others rise from sleep, sharing the same streets, the same light dot in the lanes. Children wake, rubbing eyes, stretching arms. Mothers prepare bread, setting dough upon warmed stones. Fathers lift jars, adjusting ropes, preparing for work. The city begins to breathe again, softly at first, then steadily, like a tide returning. Anchor. The sun touches rooftops. Dough rises. With heat, breath follows the rhythm of light. The contrast narrows now, for both worlds meet. The temple has given its offerings, the homes their rest. The gods have been honored, the children fed. The lamps of ritual are extinguished, the lamps of kitchens are lit. The city holds both, one flowing into the other, seamless whole. The sea greets the morning with its same rhythm. Waves touch stone as they touched it yesterday, as they will touch it tomorrow. The lighthouse burns once more, though its flame is faint in daylight. It does not need to guide now. It only waits, steady and faithful. Anchor, the sea breathes evenly. Stone warms beneath light. Breath steadies into the new day. Alexandria awakens fully. Its homes lean into life. Its temples stand in silence. Its harbor begins to stir. The city does not divide itself. It accepts every rhythm as part of its own. Mudbrick walls, marble courts, market stalls, sacred altars all share the same sun. The same air, the same sea dot, and as dawn brightens, both home and temple fold into the larger harmony. The day begins again, not new, but continued, as it always has, as it always will. Anchor. The sun rises above roofs and columns. Lamps give way to daylight. Breath flows forward without effort.